Welcome, I'm Kinetic Symphony. This is Dave. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the supernatural. Case file number 1925, written by Friendship Entire 6364. Between Monday and Wednesday, we vanished away. In 2014, I was living with my then boyfriend and working debt collections for a pretty well-known company. I hated the job and had begun to feel like my day-to-day life was really mundane. Because we had access to people's sensitive information, full social security numbers, addresses, etc., we weren't allowed to even bring our phones into the building. Once a month, they would put us on required overtime when we were working on accounts that were getting ready to go into the next phase of collections. I worked 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday and was scheduled 9 a.m. 7 p.m. Tuesday and Wednesday. I got home from work Monday night and watched Netflix with my boyfriend until I fell asleep. Woke up the next day to pee, and when I checked the time, it was 8:13. I assume I had forgot to set an alarm, freaked out for a minute, and rushed to get ready for work. I pulled into the parking lot at 8:56 and was feeling pretty good about it, still making it to work on time. As I was clocking in, my coworker Anna stopped me and asked me, "Where were you yesterday?" I said, here? She insisted I wasn't, which I thought was really weird, but I just brushed it off, clocked in, and went to my desk. Anna and I were pretty close as far as coworkers go. We bitched about the job throughout the workday, and texted and engaged with each other on social media outside of work daily. About 20 minutes into my shift, I glanced at the calendar on my computer, and it was showing it was Wednesday. I genuinely thought Anna was playing a weird prank on me and had messed with my computer settings, since she asked where I was when she knew full well I was there yesterday. On my lunch break, I went out to my car as I did every shift. When I turned my phone on, it also said it was Wednesday. I started panicking and called my boyfriend. He worked second shift and hadn't yet gone into work, but looked at his phone and had the same realization and also started freaking out. Now the really weird thing is, no one in either of our lives seemed to notice except Anna. I wasn't super hungry or thirsty, as I assumed I would be if I hadn't consumed anything for an entire day. We both were heavy smokers at the time, but neither of us woke up feeling like we really needed a cigarette. We lived with my boyfriend's two brothers, and we had two dogs. One was an elderly dog, and the other was just a puppy, so they both required pretty frequent trips outside. Our room was in the basement, and we had a baby gate at the top of the stairs to keep them from roaming the house while we were sleeping. Neither of the dogs had an accident in our room, nor did they eat as though they hadn't been fed in over 24 hours. I asked both of his brothers, and they hadn't let the dogs out or fed them Tuesday. I am really close with my mom, and we talk on the phone on my way to and from work every day, yet she didn't mention anything about not talking to me for an entire day. Neither of us were written up for no call, no show on a shift, or even spoken to by management about the missed shift. Neither of us had any missed calls or texts from Tuesday. To this day, I have no reasonable explanation for what happened that caused us to lose an entire day. If I had been living alone, I would have chalked it up to somehow being so exhausted, or maybe having a weird 24-hour illness or something that made me sleep through an entire day. But the fact that both of us experienced the same thing with no consequences made it even weirder. I think about this regularly, and no one I've spoken to about it can come up with anything plausible either. It feels as though we went to sleep Monday, ceased to exist in this reality on Tuesday, and then resumed normal life on Wednesday. Case file 1925. Between Monday and Wednesday, we vanished away. So my initial impression would have been the same. Oh, Anna's playing a prank on me. That's why she even mentioned that you weren't here the day before. That makes sense, but there's no way she had access to your phone. And of course, checking all the other dates and times, no. You really did skip a day. There's no way Anna has the power of pranking people to that extent, of infiltrating IT departments and changing all the clocks around the world. No, I don't think so. So you lost a day, but it's more that you and your husband went on autopilot. Because again, as you refer to all the points, that your dogs weren't hungry, you weren't hungry, your husband wasn't hungry, you weren't craving cigarettes. So you must have been on autopilot, but you just didn't go into work. Now, what could, possess, I think is the right word. What could possess two people to go onto autopilot? And what did you actually do during those days? I don't think it's a case where you vanished from the plane of existence. I think something took over your bodies and suppressed the memories of whatever you did during those days. Or during the day. I mean, assuming you don't have warrants out for your arrest, maybe nothing too nefarious, but still makes you wonder. Was it like a guardian angel that needed a vessel and doesn't have to ask permission? Or maybe did ask permission, you gave it, and the memory of that is suppressed too. Maybe. I certainly like the idea of a guardian angel requiring permission to take over a vessel. That's more moral than otherwise. Case file number 1926, written by Diddle the Twiddle, a time-twisting morning with no warning. My alarm goes off every morning at 3:32 a.m. I snoozed a few times and got out of bed before 4. I'm out of the door by 4:10. I picked up a friend of mine, Kelly, on the way. We stopped at the gas station and arrived at work by 4:50. Shift starts at 5. I've held this routine for a few months now. I'm pretty used to it. This morning, October 8th, started like every other, with me out of the house around 4:10. I'm not even a few miles down the road when Kelly calls me and says, "Hey, where are you?" "On my way to get you for work." This is when, simultaneously, I look at the clock in my truck and chose, while Kelly says, "You know it's 5:15 and not 4:15, right?" I am so confused and don't even understand how that's possible. She says she already called off and hangs up. I head to work. I don't really give it much more thought, assuming I just messed up my alarm or getting up. Fast forward to about 8 p.m. this evening, and I call her to ask her to call me when she wakes up in the morning to make sure I'm up. I've never had to have her do this before. So, while we're on the phone, she tells me that she walked into her kitchen at 4:15, and when she came back to the living room, it was exactly an hour later. I don't really freak out about things, but I can't stop thinking about how and why. What changed? Where did that hour go? For both of us. Caissons file 1926. A time-twisting morning with no warning. Yeah, so a lot of time anomalies this week. And this one is not as grand as the last one, but still. Missing an entire hour, obviously, assuming this has nothing to do with daylight savings, which I'm sure you ruled out, it wasn't the right day for that. So, you just lost an hour, and it appeared to be a localized phenomena that impacted Kelly as well. More space-time warping, but on a larger scale than is typical of any sort of space-time bubble or anything like that. Now time for the joke of the day. I asked my German friend if he knew the square root of 81. He said no. Why would Germans be especially gifted at math? Wait, wasn't Einstein German? But I mean, even then, doesn't mean all Germans are expert mathematicians. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony, signing off.